Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2019 Audi Q8, we're going to be showing you how to install the Stealth Trailer Hitch receiver. But before we get into that, why don't we just check this out and make sure it's going to work for you. The main thing that this hitch is going to do is remain completely hidden whenever you're not using it. So when you're just driving around town, not wanting to use an accessory, your vehicle will look completely factory. You're not even going to be able to see the hitch at all. Which is definitely a good thing on a vehicle like the Audi. They look really sharp, and personally, if I could get away with doing that, that's the path that I would go. But with that said, when you are ready to use it, the receiver tube is going to be detachable. All right, and then up underneath the vehicle, this is how you get to the hitch. So there's a small cutout here that you'll create when you install this. The tube is just going to kind of push up into place. So you're going to make sure you have your handle turned there. It'll slide right up and lock into position. Once the tube is kind of locked in there, now you're going to be able to use accessories, which kind of brings you to my next point. With this particular setup, it's only designed to be used with accessories, so bike racks and things of that nature. If you are wanting to do some towing, there is a towing kit available that has a special type ball mount to allow you to hook up your trailer, as well as some wiring to kind of get you going in that regard. But the receiver tube, once you have it on, it's going to come out a little ways, and I think that's beneficial, especially being designed for those accessories. It's going to give you plenty of clearance. One of the big questions that a lot of people wonder is, if you put a trailer hitch back here, is it going to interfere with your hands-free liftgate assist? And with this one, the answer is no. Even with the receiver tube in, you're still able to kick your foot under there and have the hatch open up like it should. The receiver tube is going to have a 2" by 2" opening and a reinforced collar for extra strength. This is a super common size, and a lot of stuff's going to work with it. If you already have a smaller 1¼ by 1¼ accessory and you're wanting to hold on to it, you can actually pick those size receiver tubes up separately as well. And since these do pop out if you want, they also offer carrying cases to keep these all cleaned up and put away and organized. So just figured I'd throw that out there. It is going to use the standard 5/8 pin and clip. Keep in mind though, one doesn't come with the hitch. If you need one, you can grab it here at eTrailer. And something to think about, since this can only be used with accessories, a lot of times if you pick one up new, they're going to come with one included. So just keep that in the back of your head too. As far as how much weight the hitch can handle, it's going to be pretty high. Maximum gross tongue weight rating is going to be 800 pounds. That's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. So with that capacity there, you shouldn't really run into any issues using just about any size bike rack or cargo carrier. Now we can grab a couple of measurements, and these will help you figure out what type of accessories will work best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be about 15.5 inches. So if your accessory has a straight shank or one that has a rise in it, that'll work out just fine. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's only going to be about 1 inch. Kind of talked about this earlier, but you can use that to help figure out that if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in an upright position without hitting the back of your Audi. Other than that, at the end of the day, a good fit for the Audi, especially using those types of accessories. It's going to be a clean factory type way to do that. And like I said before, if you're trying to do some towing, you can always check into that towing kit. As far as the installation goes, believe it or not, it wasn't too bad. It was much easier than I was anticipating. The fascia does have to come off, but there's only a handful of fasteners that you have to take out, and really no crazy tools or anything like that. Just take your time, be careful, a lot of plastic, so just stay patient. But if you plan on doing it yourself and you'd like to follow along, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead, pull it into the garage, and put the hitch on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the back of our Audi, and we're going to have to remove the fascia. So that's going to start with getting the taillights out. So there's going to be these plastic covers here that we need to remove to expose some of the fasteners underneath. And you can take a plastic trim tool like this, just kind of carefully work your way around it until it pops off. That'll let us get to a couple of bolts here. And I want to mention from this point on, anything we do to one side of the vehicle, we're also going to do to the other side because it'll be set up the same way. These screws we're going to remove. We'll use a T25 Torx bit. And when you go to pull these out, be careful. You don't want to drop them. So I'm just going to take a magnet there, be on the safe side. Pull that out. Set that stuff to the side here. And as far as getting our tail light out, you can kind of work it back and forth. And what you might need to do is take a plastic trim tool there and get in behind there to release it. And once it's released, we can unplug it. So there's a connector, and you can just push down on that tab and separate it, and we'll set our light off to the side. With the tail light out of the way, that'll give us access to another fastener here, which is that screw there. And we'll come in with our T25. Looks like you might be able to use a flathead screwdriver on these too, but we'll go with our Torx bit and get this pulled out. Moving underneath the vehicle now, just behind our rear tire along this edge, we're going to have 4 fasteners. Again, a T25 Torx bit. We'll get all these removed. Moving towards the middle of our vehicle, we're going to have 4 more fasteners. And we'll just use our same T25 to get them all out. Moving to your wheel well now, along this edge, we're going to have 2 Torx bit screws. Once both of those are out, you can kind of grab your liner here. If I can get a hold of it. I'm just going to kind of peel that back up a little ways. And then that will expose another Torx bit. So right there. Right between the 2 that we just pulled out. What I've done now is use some painter's tape along the seams here and everywhere that we're going to be working, just so we don't accidentally scratch anything. But we're going to have to pop this piece of trim off. I don't think we'll have to take it off completely, more or less maybe about halfway. But you can take a trim tool and just very carefully kind of start to work your way around here, and it pops off pretty easy. And that's going to expose a couple of fasteners under here that we can get removed. Our 2 fasteners will be right here. Get that popped out. And the next one will be located down here. Now with the next set of hands, you can get our fascia removed. So on each side of it, you can kind of grab it, and this is just going to pop out essentially. This one seems to be coming off pretty good, but it's just held in place with some plastic clips. If it gets hung up, what you can do, these little keepers here, you kind of push down on them, and that'll help release it. Just kind of continue to work our way across here. And once it's free, don't pull back too far. We may have some electrical connections we need to remove. Looks like over on the driver's side we may have one. Come to find out, you do not want to disconnect this wiring, all right? But there's some clips kind of holding it in place. You can pull back on a few of them just to give us some extra space here. But what we're going to try to do We're gonna leave it attached and just kind of set it on a cart while we're working on the hitch. Now we're able to remove our bumper beam. So we're gonna have a total of 4 bolts, 2 up top. I'm using an 18mm to get these removed. I'm going to hold on to the hardware, so we'll reuse it. I already took the other side, or the other bolts off the other side, but we can remove our bumper beam and we will not be reinstalling this piece. Now we can grab our hitch and put it into position. And essentially this is just replacing our bumper beam there. I'm going to take all of that factory hardware and I'm going to get them all started hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself. We can make sure it's centered and then we can come back and tighten them on down. I got them all started and you can't really shift the hitch from left to right too much, but you can go up and down. So I'm just going to try to line it up and center it with that little stud there. Come back and snug them up within 18mm. And now we need to make sure to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. When I'm doing these hitches, I kind of like to make an X pattern. I feel like it just helps everything draw together a little more evenly. We can grab our latch block assembly deal here and get this bolted up to the hitch. You want the handle side to be on the passenger side of the vehicle. 2 holes in it are going to line up with the 2 holes in the hitch. Take the bolts and slide them through. And depending on what hitch you got too, you know, if you got the tow package one, you might have some hooks and safety chain hooks you have to put here and other things. So just keep that in mind. Yours might be a little different, but ours is just this. So we'll get the hardware going here. To tighten these down, I got a 15/16 size socket and wrench. Of course, once you have these snug, you need to come back with your torque wrench and tighten them down to the amount specified. Now we're able to come over to our fascia and trim out what they call the gravel guard. So the spot on the bottom. We need to create the opening so you know, the hitch will fit through and we can get to it. So follow the instructions. They give you a diagram. So I tape that out here. I'm going to use a Dremel tool to cut some of this out. Then I might switch over to another cutting device just to get on this along this edge because it's a little tight, but whatever you got will work, you know, whatever you see fit. So go ahead and get this trimmed out. I got this piece trimmed out here, and just to kind of clean everything up, you can come back with a utility knife or a file, something like that, and clean up all the edges. With the fascia trimmed out now, we can grab an extra set of hands and carefully reinstall and re-secure it the opposite way that we removed it. So I got the fascia all re-secured, went right back on with no issues, the opposite way that we took it off. And with that done, that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Stealth trailer hitch on our 2019 Audi Q8.